Hi, I'm Caitlin, and this is Book Chats. Today's Top 5 Wednesday is the Top 5 Worst Series Endings. Book number 5 is Champion by Marie Lu. And the reason that this is number 5 is that I don't actually hate the events that happen at the very end of this particular book. The author chooses to do some things that might be a little not what the reader was suspecting, and then there's a little bit of a time jump, and I actually really admire Marie Lu for doing this. I think it's very interesting, and I appreciated it. I chose this book actually specifically because it was my least favorite of the series, and it was really a disappointment. I really enjoyed Legend, and then Prodigy I enjoyed for different reasons than I enjoyed Legend, but I still liked it enough to be glad that I read it. But then when I got to Champion, I felt like the things that I enjoyed about the first two books were gone, and the things that I didn't enjoy about those two books were just the entirety of Champion. I also felt like there was some questions that I had that weren't really answered, and some avenues that weren't really explored, and it was just a disappointment to me personally. Number 4 is a really popular book, but I think some other people would probably agree with me. It's Breaking Dawn by Stephenie Meyer. I really like a lot of the things that Stephenie Meyer has chosen to do with her success. I really love the way that she supports other women in writing and also in filmmaking. I'm really glad that she has had success. I don't have anything against Stephenie Meyer, but I do think that her writing suffers a little bit because she is too kind to do what really needs to get done sometimes at the ending of her books, and she writes what would make her fans happy, but it was not necessarily the right thing to end. For me, Breaking Dawn, I enjoyed the Twilight series. I haven't read it since I first read it, which was probably it was a while ago. My favorite book was Eclipse, but I really didn't enjoy Breaking Dawn. I thought there was a lot of weird things about it. I thought that it was really uneven, and I thought that it was really anticlimactic. And if you have read Breaking Dawn, you will know what I'm talking about. If you've seen the movies, for some reason, the only movie I haven't seen is Breaking Dawn Part 2. I've heard from a lot of people that they did something really interesting in the film that actually kind of fixed some of the problems of Breaking Dawn. But yeah, I just felt like it wasn't the right ending to this series, or just that it wasn't a very good book. But I mean, for both of those two, so for my number 5 and my number 4, I don't have a problem with other people enjoying them. I don't have a problem with other people enjoying those series, and I would not tell anyone not to read them if they really felt like it. But these next 3 I have more of a beef with. Number 3 on this list is Unmade by Sarah Rees Brennan, and it's actually the 3rd book in the Lindburn Legacy series. So this is number 3 on the list because I still love the first book in this series, Unspoken, so much. I love that book so much that I still recommend it to people. I still do. But I was so disappointed in this ending. I talked about it because I just read it pretty recently in one of my wrap-ups, and I wrote a very long review on Goodreads where I talk about all of my disappointment. But basically, I was expecting it to be so much more than it was, and specifically, I don't feel like any of the characters had any character development except maybe one of them in this 3rd book, and to me, with no character development, what's the point of the book? I really felt like this series could have been written as a duology. It's just so disappointing to me, so when I tell people now to read Unspoken, I usually say, but the 3rd book is not very good, so you can just ask me what happened and I'll tell you. I still tell people to read the 1st book in the series, which is more than I can say for this next book. Number 2 is Spyglass by Maria V. Snyder. This is from her Glass series, which is a trilogy set in the same world as the Poison Study books, which are fabulous, but with a different character and a different kind of magic at the core. So I have a very specific problem, and I'm going to try not to talk about it in such a spoilery way, but my very specific problem with this trilogy is that I feel like it deals... I don't think there's a non-spoiler way to say this. Okay, I'll try. I have a really big problem with the romance in this trilogy. I basically got to the end of the series, and the end pair was one that I was very upset with because of something that happened early on in the series between these two characters that was really, not a good thing to happen. The author expects us to believe that the situation has been reformed and that, it's okay now, but I didn't believe that. And so it very much felt, okay, this is going to be a spoiler, so stop listening if you don't want to know. But basically, there's a character who captures, tortures, and, deceptively has sexual relations with the main character of the book in the earlier books, and you get to the end and he is somehow reformed, and now we're supposed to believe that he is like the guy for her. And I don't feel like those things were addressed. I don't feel like his power over her was addressed. I don't feel like the violence he showed towards her was addressed. I don't feel like the fact that he passed himself off as someone else and entered a sexual relationship with this character was deceptively was ever addressed. Like, it was just really frustrating to me. I didn't feel like it was like okay messaging, and I really have a problem with this trilogy because of that. So I have a problem with this trilogy, but I still trust Maria V. Snyder. I still like her other series well enough, and I've read other books after this, and I will read she just released a book last month in February that is a continuation of the Poison Study series, and I still will probably read that as well. I just have a problem with this specific trilogy. But the number one spot on my list goes to an author who so betrayed me that I refuse to ever trust this author ever again, and I will never read another book that he has written. I'm sorry. It is The Death Cure by James Dashner, which is the third book in the Maze Runner trilogy, and I might actually see the movie for the Maze Runner, but I refuse to ever read anything that James Dashner has ever written, and this is why.
Hey guys, quick note, I'd left the spoilers unmarked in the section ahead because I think that your enjoyment of the books will maybe be better if you actually know going in that you're not going to get an answer to something that I was expecting an answer to. But if you don't want to know anything and you start planning to read these books, then please stop listening right now. I will mark the end of this whole discussion portion with another title card that looks like this.
The big question in The Maze Runner is that Thomas, our main character, comes up into this society, and he has language memory, so he remembers how to speak, he remembers his own name, but he does not remember anything else about his past. So the big conflict in this first novel is the very big interpersonal conflict that Thomas has is, I don't know who I am, I don't know what happened, I don't know how I got here, I don't know anything, I don't know how many memories. And so his driving force in the whole series is to get his memories back, and to know where he came from, and to know where he is. And you get to the third book, and he's given the opportunity. One of the characters, he has this opportunity to have his memories restored, and he says, no, I don't trust you, so I don't want to do it. These are my hands of anger. I can't even speak properly about how angry this made me. But basically, if the driving force of your character is offered to him on a silver platter, and he says, oh, I just don't trust you, so I don't want it anymore, and you can't sell me that his driving force has changed, you can't sell me that something is different, and you just do that to me, no. That's not acceptable. I don't believe that of Thomas's character. I don't believe that's what really happened. And I just feel so betrayed. So betrayed. And I don't even, I know some people have issues with other things that happened throughout this series, but I don't, whatever. That's fine. I am just ticked that I read 2.5 books, I think it's about halfway through that this happens, of this character being like, I need to find my memories, I need to go, and then he's offered them and he just doesn't. I'm sorry. It's really upsetting. I'm clearly very agitated about the way this series ended, and that is why I no longer trust James Dashner. I will never read anything else that he ever writes, and I actively tell other people not to read his books because he ticked me off so much with what he chose to do here. I'm just I feel personally affronted by this. I feel like there was a deal between me as a reader and James Dashner as an author, and he reneged on that deal, and it was not okay. Anyway, I'm sorry. This is just clearly something I'm very passionate about. A quick note here at the end, when I was going through, I realized there's actually a lot of series that I haven't finished, so I couldn't actually evaluate them for whether or not their ending was good. And some of these series I just haven't gotten to, I still plan to finish them and to continue. But some series, I could just tell I wasn't really feeling it, or I didn't really like the direction it was going, so I just chose to stop reading it. I don't really have a problem with not finishing a series. Occasionally, if I really care enough about what happened, I will find a Wikipedia summary, or I'll read reviews, or I'm really good at sneakily trying to figure out what the plot of other things is if I really want to. That being said, there are probably series that you also didn't like the ending of, so please feel free to write down below, or if you just are whatever, I'll take whatever the author gives me, like, let me know. And also, I would love a discussion of what your favorite series enders were. That would be awesome if you could do that down below. And please tell us the book you're talking about, and then, like, let us know if you're going to spoil anything, because some of the series you had a problem with the ending of, I might not have finished yet, and so I would love to have a heads up so I don't spoil myself accidentally if I do plan on finishing them. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you, and I may or may not have a bookshelf at that point, so we'll see how my background changes in the next 2 weeks. Thanks so much. Bye. Today's Top 5 Wednesday is Top 5 Bookish Habits.